We value human life in America. Not everyone else around the world does. And it may be difficult to understand and therefore make deals with people who don't value human life like we do. Mike Slater, something you might not know. Next.
Homeowners, when is the last time you checked on your home title? If your answer is never, then this is for you. Scammers are stealing titles, and your equity is a target. Criminals forge your signature. Just like that, your home title can be transferred out of your name. That's why I partnered up with Home Title Lock, so you can find out today if you're already a victim. Please use my promo code BILL at HometitleLock.com, and you'll get a free title history report. Plus, you will get a free trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. That's 24/7 monitoring of your title, urgent alerts of any changes, and if fraud does happen, they'll spend up to $1 million to fix it. That's HometitleLock.com, promo code BILL.
Summer is here, and that means it's time to gear up at Whistle Pig Outdoors on Main in Troy. Mike Ferguson here for my friends at Whistle Pig Outdoors, family owned and operated by hunters who know their stuff. Beat the heat with premium Costa sunglasses and American-made Grizzly coolers that keep everything ice cold. Upgrade your bow at their full-service archery shop. Expert technician on staff for Hoyt and Bear bows. Call 636-775-1110 or visit Main Street in Troy. Whistle Pig Outdoors, your year-round outdoor headquarters.
Every 2 seconds, someone needs blood. Someone who is fighting cancer, undergoing surgery, or experiencing a life-threatening illness. The need for blood is critical and constant.
I'm Congressman Bob Onder. A single blood donation can save lives. Donate blood today and offer help and hope to those who need it most.
This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Mike Slater filling in for Bill O'Reilly. Now it's time for something you might not know. There is a left-wing think tank called The Third Way, and they have come out with a list of 45 words that you should not use anymore if you are a Democrat. So if you're a Democrat running for office, you should not use these words. Why? Because Democrats are so alienating to normal people. They've so lost their way on how to talk like a normal person. Here is this group that's run all these focus groups and everything. They're saying, stop using these words. You sound ridiculous. So they put together this great list and they put it in different categories. The first category, therapy speak. Words like privilege, dialoguing, othering, triggering, microaggression, centering, safe space. Ooh, that's one of the originals. Holding space and body shaming. Again, this is a Democrat group telling Democrats, stop using these words. You're alienating normal people. Seminar room language, subverting norms, systems of oppression, critical theory, cultural appropriation, postmodernism, existential threat, as in the climate or democracy, organizer jargon, small d democracy, radical transparency, barriers to participation, stakeholder capitalism. By the way, these are all like the fundamental tenets of what the Democrats are today. So to be clear, they're not saying don't be these things or don't believe these things. They're just saying don't say them out loud. Food insecurity, person who immigrated, the unhoused, a whole section on gender and trans stuff, birthing person and inseminated person. Oh my goodness. Pregnant people, chest feeding, cisgender, patriarchy, LGBTQIA+. Not allowed to say that one anymore. Racial words, Latinx, BIPOC, allyship, minoritized communities, intersectionality. Those are good. Justice-involved persons. Now listen, we can laugh, and we will. We'll always laugh at them. But it's a bit of a bummer that they're slowly figuring out what makes them so ridiculous. We don't want them to figure it out, but I wouldn't worry about it. I'm sure the chest-feeding BIPOC allies from their triggered safe spaces will find another way to alienate normal people. More coming up.
Are you feeling the impact of recent timeshare industry changes? Now more than ever, the costs of timeshare ownership far outweigh the benefits. My friends at Lone Star Transfer are the only company I trust to help you get out. Our listeners' positive feedback demonstrates why I've supported the company for years. For more than a decade, they have helped over 20,000 owners get out of the timeshare. Their exclusive options can help you get out faster and easier, more than any other option in the country. They are the only company that will give you a written guarantee and release you from your timeshare in a specific time frame. With an A+ rating at the Better Business Bureau, thousands of 5-star reviews, customer service is their top priority. For free consultation and a guaranteed solution, please call 855-551-7066. That's 855-551-7066, or go to LoneStarTransfer.com.
I'm Mike Slater from Politics by Faith. Thank you for letting me fill in for the O'Reilly update. We will be back tomorrow.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Fires are once again threatening homes and businesses in the West. 4 homes and 6 other structures have been destroyed by a wildfire sweeping through central Oregon. Eric Perkins of Oregon's Department of Forestry says they're starting to get the upper hand on the flat fire in Deschutes County.
Things are looking really good. We're going to make sure that the stuff is all tied in on the Deschutes River Canyon side of things. We're getting there. We have this old fire scar here, this Alder Springs fire scar from earlier in the summer. The fire has checked up on that. So again, looking good.
GOP strategist Darren McGuire says crime-plagued cities all across the country would be wise to welcome federal assistance from President Trump. Bob Agnew reports.
McGuire says if there are any big cities that don't want the assistance,
it's because they suffer from Trump derangement syndrome, unfortunately.
She says not only has the program been working in D.C.,
it will make a difference in any city where this is allowed to happen.
And she says it appears the only reason local Democrat leaders reject the idea is because they don't want to win for President Trump.
And I can't imagine hating someone so much that as an elected official, I would rather watch my city burn than be safe.
McGuire was interviewed by the Salem Radio Network. Bob Agnew reporting.
Former Mexican cartel kingpin Ismael El Mayo Zambada has pleaded guilty to federal charges related to his role in the violent drug trade. For years, the operation flooded the U.S. with cocaine, heroin, and other illicit substances. The longtime leader in the Sinaloa cartel entered his plea Monday in a Brooklyn federal court. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 349 points. The Nasdaq dropped 47. More at townhall.com.
Everybody is keeping an eye on the Fed and how an interest rate cut might affect gold prices. Gold has been hovering at around $3,400 an ounce for the last 2 months and is poised for dramatic growth with the next interest rate cut. If you have a qualified IRA or 401k, you could receive up to $10,000 in free gold and silver when you open your retirement account with Advantage Gold. Call 800-900-8000 now or visit AdvantageGold.com and get your free gold IRA guide. Consult with your financial and tax professionals before making investment decisions. Call 800-900-8000.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated the best hearing aids of 2025 by Forbes Health, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, starting at just $98 a pair.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aid.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 1 million happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Nice, cool night again tonight. We'll actually see clearing skies and then more sunshine for Tuesday. A low of 54 degrees, a high of 78, about 10 degrees below the normal high. Northeast winds about 5 to 10 miles an hour and plenty of sunshine. Wednesday, partly cloudy skies, and it clouds up a little bit more later in the day and the evening. High of 79, though. Another day with a high in the 70s. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at SerenityLTC.com.
Kathy Connor from Connor Roofing is here. Kathy, how you doing? Good. Hi, Vic.
You know, when you need a roof, I don't want to call a stranger. I want to call you.
Yeah, thanks. At Connor Roofing, we're more than just a roofing company.
How long you been doing it?
Since 1993.
And year after year, storm after storm, you guys are always there.
Because this is our home too, Vic. Our kids go to school with your kids. We cheer for the same teams. Go Blues!
So support your neighbors. Call Connor Roofing at 314-375-7475 or CONNER roofing.com.
Thanks, Vic.
Hey, Colombo here for Intervine, a great local company that has customers all across the country due to the quality of their products. Intervine has the best flashlights, lanterns, headlamps, and even batteries, including the new Monster 2000 Lumen waterproof lantern and the Sentinel 2000 self-defense flashlight. Our home and vehicles are full of great Intervine products, and right now you can shop their website and get 25% off your entire purchase just by using my name, Tony, as your promo code. That's promo code Tony at Intervine.com.
Whether at home or at work, you're mobile. So when you're mobile, stay mobile. Keep St. Louis's home for conservative talk with you wherever you go. Download the News Talk STL app in the App Store or at newstalkstl.com. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
I watched as a very incompetent mayor from Chicago said, well, what do they know? They only arrested 9 people. I said, 9 people? We didn't arrest 9 people. We actually arrested a total of well over 1,000 people. We took hundreds of guns away from young kids that were throwing them around like it was candy. We apprehended scores of illegal aliens. We seized dozens of illegal firearms. There have been 0 murders. It sounds sort of terrible to say. It's embarrassing. I did this over the weekend. I'm making a speech, and I acted like I was so proud as I said, we've had 0 murders in the last week. And some of these people were from foreign countries. They said, that doesn't sound so good.
Hard to argue that Donald Trump isn't making America safer again. Those remarks this morning from the Oval Office as Chris Arps, South Korea was also in town. Lots going up in Washington, D.C. And Donald Trump promising, maybe threatening some of America's mayors that he's going to bring a little law and order to a city near you next.
Yeah, Tim, the last murder in D.C. took place August 12th. According to crimeresearch.org, the odds of the murder rate coming down to that level in Washington, D.C. prior to the increased federal security presence was 0.35% based on 2024 data and 0.58% based on the first 7 months of 2025. So that's truly remarkable in a very, very violent city, Washington, D.C. is. To have 0 murders is remarkable.
And as if on cue, the monitor above your head, which is on Newsmax TV, the Carl Higbee show, has the Chiron. DC had higher murder rate than the third world country of Trinidad and Tobago. So once again, proving that Democrat ruined America, which is unfortunately and sadly, most of urban America, where a lot of Democrat voters live, has been a very dangerous, almost third world-esque place over the last many years. Chris, the left is losing their minds. And I think they're losing their minds not only because they're mad that Donald Trump dares to Bigfoot into their territory, but I think the other thing, Chris, they're worried about is that, as you just pointed out, Donald Trump's actions have had success. They have been a solution to the problem. And the last thing Democrats want is a national narrative that anything that Donald Trump does actually works.
Yeah, and I think they're also worried, too, since the last couple of elections, President Trump has increased his voting percentage among African Americans. Tim, Washington, D.C. is affectionately called the chocolate city because there are a lot of black people living in Washington, D.C. The government is run by black people. So I think that they're worried about this crime, and with crime being put in its place, that may give some more people to take a look at President Trump and his policies. Also, he announced today that he will try to eliminate cashless bail for people arrested in Washington, D.C. through an executive order that he signed today. So law and order coming in D.C.
Yeah, Chris, I can tell you as a former prosecutor, and we can ask actually our 505 guest, which we'll get to in a second.
Yeah.
We asked her about cashless bail is a horrible, really bad, terrible idea. And even defense attorneys who are worth their weight in gold, who are worth their salt, they will tell you that this is a bad idea as well. It allows the criminals to basically, the alleged criminals, to basically never come back to court.
Yeah.
There's nothing to secure. Bail is meant not to punish people. And that's what the left says. Appropriate bail is meant to reduce flight risks and to make sure that people don't stray too far from the jurisdiction in which they've been given an arrest warrant or a summons to appear in court.
I think if someone has been arrested for a very minor crime or a minor infraction, then yes, I could see getting out on your own recognizance, no cashless bail. But for some of these people, like we saw up in Minnesota, they were rioting and looting, and Kamala Harris and the Democrats were putting up their bail or were calling for cashless bail. That's absolutely ridiculous because they're not going to come back. There was a case a few years ago of this husband that had committed domestic assault against his wife. He got out on cashless bail. A couple of days later, he murdered her.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a lot of experience in this regard. When I was in the prosecutor's office in Nassau County, being a newer prosecutor, one of the things we had to do was felony arraignments on the weekend. That sounds very fancy and romantic. It wasn't. We were the young guys. We were the new people. So we drew the short straws. We had to get up at 5 a.m. and go down to district court in Hempstead, and we had to do felony arraignments. During felony arraignments, we had to make a request for bail on every single case that came before us. And Chris, there were plenty of times, even on some felonies, that I would agree to an ROR, a release on their own recognizance. Here's why. Maybe it was not a violent offense. Maybe it was a first-time offense. Maybe it was something like a traffic infraction that had kind of gone warrant or something. Especially if the person had a defense attorney appear with them that I knew and I trusted. Well, then the defense attorney's reputation is on the line. And I'd be like, they would request it. And I'd say, Your Honor, I work with Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so. I believe them when they will bring their clients back. Yes, I'll go ahead and agree with the ROR. So there's plenty of times, yes, ROR was fine. But on the very serious violent felonies or domestic abuse cases, something like that, you set a bail amount.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's a number one. It's an insurance policy to ensure that the defendant will come back to court. It's also a little bit of a incentive to not commit any other crimes while this one is pending before the court.
Exactly. And I know the critics say that, people are innocent when they're put in jail. But if somebody is a serial killer or has committed some horrendous crime, then yes, I want them having $1 million bail or bond, which is going to be almost impossible for them to meet, so they can stay in prison in prison before up for their upcoming trial. It's not a question for me of them being out. I want them in jail because they've committed a heinous crime. I think the bail determines that.
Yeah, and
bail.
And the other thing that Donald Trump, I think, is masterfully doing here is he is setting up an issue for the 2026 midterms.
Yeah.
So the Democrats are going to argue that he's a tyrant and he's a dictator and he's an authoritarian. Donald Trump and the Republicans are going to argue, no, we are the safety and security. We are the law and order party. How safe do you want to be or not be when you're walking the streets of St. Louis, Chicago, Detroit, Memphis, Baltimore, on and on and on, New York, LA? Do you want to be safe, or do you want to have your head constantly on a swivel? And even if you're not doing anything wrong, you maybe get accidentally hit by a stray bullet because of some gang warfare or some drug deal gone down wrong. So I think this is Donald Trump also. Number one, it's good public policy. Number two, he's trying to set up issues. He's not on the ballot next year, so he wants to put his issues on the ballot, so to speak.
Yeah, crime in the big cities and illegal immigration. Those are two issues that helped propel Donald Trump back into the White House. They are still very important issues, and I think they will play in 2026 and beyond, really 2028, because Democrats aren't going to change anytime soon. And we know that instead of going to the center or moderating, they're going even more to the left.
They've had 10 months to have some sort of different narrative. And Chris, it seems like it's impossible for them to change their narrative on women's and girls sports, on this ridiculous notion of trans rights, and on law and order, as you said. Second item that we mentioned there in the open, Chris, was that South Korea was in the house. South Korea was in the White House today. How convenient, how appropriate, almost like we planned it. Jim Talent, former U.S. Senator, chairman of the Reagan Institute's National Leadership Council. Jim will be able to answer all of our queries, won't he, Chris, about the importance of South Korea and all that was discussed today with Donald Trump and the president of that country.
Exactly. And one of the things they're going to discuss, and I read this in Politico, that the Korean delegation, when they came, had some hats made up called MSGA, Make Shipbuilding Great in America, because we've talked about this with our Senator Talent, how the United States is way behind on our shipbuilding, and they have promised to help aid, which kind of makes me nervous. We're the top dog in the world, but they're going to help aid us with $150 billion to help with our shipping industry and bring it back up to where it needs to be.
Great line of questioning for Senator Talent, because you're right. He bangs that drum hard about how mighty the U.S. Navy and Air Force once used to be. And even though we're gravitating to the world of drones and remote technology, and I think we're probably leading the pack on that, I'm sure China's copycatting us every single day. We still need to have what we would call kind of a nuts and bolts military, a conventional warfare military. It's still very important in today's world. So we'll talk to Senator Talent about all those issues.
Before you go on, you know who's been really, really good at drones, and we're actually going to have a contract with them to buy some of their drones, is Ukraine. They have mastered drone warfare dealing with Russia. They're one of the top military drone makers in the world. So we're actually buying some of their drones.
Very important meetings today. Donald Trump continuing to. South Korea's had some issues, by the way, folks. I know we haven't talked about it much here. South Korea's had a lot of internal issues. If you remember, they kind of had an attempted military coup and all kinds of. They were way behind in getting to the White House this year because they just had elections and they just elected this new president. So we have a lot to cover with Senator Jim Talent. We'll explain the importance. And South Korea is very important to the U.S. Given its position in a very challenging part of the world with North Korea, Russia, China, all in that vicinity of that part of the geographical space. 4:45 will be Chris's Corner.
Yes, and Secretary of State Rubio is halting work visas for foreign commercial truck drivers. We'll dive more into that and have the number of unauthorized immigrants who were in the U.S. Has dropped dramatically, and we'll tell why. 4:45 on Chris's Corner.
Excellent. I had a speaker stump speech prepared. I was going to talk about MAGA foreign policy, but we'll save that for tomorrow because we had a late ad, and we're very happy to have her, Catherine Hanaway, who will become Missouri's next Attorney General after Labor Day. Actually, I think the week after Labor Day, as Andrew Bailey heads to Washington, D.C. We just keep shipping Missourians up to the swamp to help them figure things out up there. Andrew Bailey heading out, Catherine Hanaway heading back in. She has had a long career in the public sector world, but she has not been in the world of public policy or politics as an elected official in a while. So we're going to ask her about what it's going to be like. Why did she make that decision to come back? And what does she hope to accomplish over the next 3 years that she has to fulfill Andrew Bailey's unexpired term?
And a couple of questions I'm going to ask her because I know our audience will want to know these answers. And Tim, I know you don't want to be accused of hurling softballs at politicians. So I'm going to ask her about the elephant in the room, about the Grain Belt Express and the glyphosate
Thank you.
cases.
That was on my list.
She has addressed those since her appointment, and we'll be able to hear her answers to that here on the show.
I'm glad you're going to ask her that because, Chris, I was trying to figure out, okay, well, look, I know Catherine personally, but I feel like we have to ask her. And look, Chris, we're not going to ask her any. So I've been, as you have been, I'm sure, over the last week, I have been reading, watching, and listening to all the questions that's being asked her. So we're not doing anything. We're going to ask, I think, important questions, but we're not going to ask questions that haven't already been asked. She knows these are coming.
Exactly.
And here's the deal. As an attorney, as a recovering lawyer myself, I know you're never supposed to conflate someone's clients with their personal views. However, in the situations you just mentioned, Chris, those are big ticket items. Andrew Bailey has literally been fighting for a group of people that Catherine Hanaway has been suing against.
Yeah.
And so now so Andrew Bailey is opposed to the Grain Belt Express.
Mm-hmm.
Catherine Hanaway has been representing those folks. She's now in Andrew Bailey's shoes in 2 weeks. So what happens to that? Secondly, Chris, the glyphosate issue. This is not some cockamamie thing. I don't know how she'll answer this question. I don't know if she'll kind of poo-poo it or not. But 9 conservative Republican senators killed the Bayer immunity bill last year, which is what it is. She'll probably call it something different. Bayer Pharmaceuticals, folks, is a German corporation that wanted a bill and that, in my humble opinion, would have granted them essentially immunity from all glyphosate. RFK Jr. is against that. Many moms are in favor of doing something about glyphosate. The science is not settled on it. But, Chris, and it's not just Missouri. There's a bunch of other states that are in the same shoe. So I think that's a great question. And the third question, Chris, if you want to throw this in for the trifecta, some people are concerned about where she is on the life issue, given her affiliation with WashU. There's going to be a battle, Chris, next year on whether or not that ballot proposition is going to make it all the way through. The ACLU and many groups are going to sue Catherine Hanaway as the Attorney General. Is she going to vociferously defend HJR 73, the new Amendment 3? Yeah, folks, just to confuse the heck out of you, we're gonna ask you all to vote yes on the new Amendment 3 next year. So, interesting issues.
Very interesting issues, and I said no one will be able to accuse us of throwing softballs at Karen, at Catherine. We're not looking to ambush her. No gotcha questions or anything. But I think I don't want to call myself a journalist because I'm not a journalist.
These questions have to be asked.
These questions have to be asked.
And they've already
It's almost
been asked.
insulting to call myself a journalist. I feel like I need to take a shower if I call myself a journalist.
You and me both. Yes, you and me both. Just watch my Twitter feed.
Yeah.
Joey V is here. Oh, wait. I forgot somebody. Oh, geez. I'm a sexist. I forgot Susie Moore. Susie Moore is joining us at 5:24, Deputy Managing Editor at Red State. Red State always has a plethora of headlines that we have to cover on Monday mornings. Susie is a prolific writer. She writes a lot of great stuff over the weekend. She has the Monday Morning Minute and more. We'll talk to her about that. And then we'll prepare you for Larry Connor's USA at 5:45.
And one thing we've got to get in during the show, Tim, over the weekend, Jefferson County lost a huge member of the House delegation, just a huge member of just Jefferson County. He's had every position in Jefferson County. Ken Waller, just a fantastic man, died over the weekend, had a heart attack. And, I'm going to maybe give some thoughts on Ken throughout the show. I'm sure you will, Tim, as well. You just had him on your show.
Just did.
A few weeks ago.
Just did. Chris, this definitely hurts.
Yes,
Ken is, look, Ken and I disagreed on plenty of things. He was not a school choice guy. I was. I could give you a bunch of more examples. Ken was much more of a, kind of a moderate middle of the roader, but he proudly wore the Republican label. He ran as a Republican his entire political life. I got to give the guy huge marks for his heart.
Yes.
Ken Waller knew not an enemy. Even when you were on opposite sides of him on an issue, the guy could argue with you very passionately and at the very end, slap you on the back and say, man, that was fun. Let's do that again. And we just had him on Jeffco Patriot Radio. I'm very sad and sorry he's no longer with us. I was going to really enjoy speaking with him over the next few months, no matter where I was on that Senate race in Jefferson County. And Jefferson County lost definitely one of their favorite sons.
Huge. And I want to send our condolences out to his wife, Trina, to his children. I think he just had a grandchild last year. So our thoughts and prayers go out to the Waller family. Ken Waller will definitely be missed. He was a one of a kind, no doubt. I don't think Ken had an enemy in this world. Just a gregarious, outgoing personality. You loved him just when you first saw him.
And just to prove that, I'm on a couple little Missouri Freedom Caucus signal channels, and Ken was never going to qualify for the Missouri Freedom Caucus, but you know what? Our signal chat over the weekend was filled with people expressing their sorrow and their sadness. All of the Missouri Freedom Caucus members, they were devastated. They all loved Ken. They're all going to miss Ken. He was that kind of guy. He knew not an enemy. He always made you feel good about yourself. He always made you laugh with the red, white, and blue stars and stripes jacket and pants he'd wear. And that's how I'm so glad I can remember him with that big beaming smile, those big glasses, and that very colorful red, white, and blue coat that he wore.
And the most important thing is that Ken Waller knew the Lord.
Yes.
He would talk about the Lord all the time and talk about going to church and how important his spirituality was to him. So even though Ken is gone and we're going to miss him tremendously, his family, of course, will. But we know where he is right now. No doubt he is in the presence of the Lord. Good Christian family man.
Indeed. For Thursday's Speaker Stump Speech, since that's the day we usually record Jeffco Patriot Radio, maybe I'll see if I can get Councilman Billy Crow in here a little early that day to join us on the show and give us his thoughts. And Chris, we're definitely going to be dedicating most of the show, which is Sunday, which will be this Sunday at noon. Jeffco Patriot Radio. We're going to be dedicating most, if not all, that show as a tribute to Ken Waller. We're going to bring in as many people as we have time for. He had this little posse of folks down there that just loved him dearly and were with him every step of the way throughout all his elected positions. So we'll be bringing in those folks to talk about him. And I know a lot of people are gonna really miss Ken Waller.
And I think he was involved in 7 or 8 elections, only lost 1.
Yeah, amazing.
And that
guy.
was his second election.
Fun guy. And I'm just really gonna I live out in Eureka. I feel like Sarah Palin. I literally can see Jefferson County from my back porch. I really can. It's right across the river. And he was one of the first, him and of course Derek Good, and then David Courtway, and then Judge Missy, Daryl Missy, Judge Daryl Missy, who I think has moved to Florida.
Yeah, he's gone.
Daryl Missy was one of the guys with Ken Waller. Daryl Missy was a numbers guy. He and Ken Waller sat down. Ken told me the story. They sat down 20 years ago and said, Jefferson County should be a red county. Here's how we're going to do it. Daryl Missy would, before the age of digital and computers, Chris, Daryl Missy would handwrite all the numbers of the precincts out and all the votes. And Ken Waller knew all the people in all these places. The two of them, basically, I would give credit to beginning to flip Jefferson County from blue to red.
You have to, and that's what you were seeing all day today. That Ken Waller was given a lot of the credit for Jefferson County turning from an entirely blue county to an entirely red county.
Oh my goodness, we got off track there, but you know what? That was a very important segment, and we'll continue to discuss the life and times of Ken Waller throughout the show. Senator Jim Talent, he is standing by to talk to us about South Korea. National security. We had some illegal immigration news and more. Chris and I will be back to slice and dice all of that with the good senator next. 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Nice, cool night again tonight. We'll actually see clearing skies and then more sunshine for Tuesday. A low of 54 degrees, a high of 78, about 10 degrees below the normal high. Northeast winds about 5 to 10 miles an hour and plenty of sunshine. Wednesday, partly cloudy skies, and it clouds up a little bit more later in the day in the evening. High of 79, though. Another day with a high in the 70s. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
Hey, firearms enthusiast. Looking for a family and veteran-owned shop with a wide selection of products and services? Head to DG Firearms, 115 Business Highway 61 North in Bowling Green. DG Firearms has been your one-stop shop for custom ARs, Cerakoting, laser engraving, gunsmithing, suppressors, ammo, and reloading supplies. DG Firearms, 115 Business Highway 61 North in Bowling Green, and online at dgfirearmsllc.com.
Tony Colombo here for All Solutions Pest Control, the team Christine and I trust to protect our home. We've used multiple services at multiple homes over the years, and I can tell you from all that experience, All Solutions is second to none. If you have a pest problem of any kind, or more importantly, just want to prevent a problem, All Solutions is the team to call. Learn more and take advantage of their incredible $67 introductory offer right now at allsolutionspestcontrol.com.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control. Fall is here, and Daniel's Farm and Greenhouse has everything you need to make your yard shine. From vibrant mums and fall blooms to pumpkins, gourds, and seasonal containers that will make your neighbors jealous. Need trees, shrubs, or vegetables? We got you covered with 15 greenhouses of full quality plants, mulch, soil, and winter protection supplies. Our family knowledgeable staff is here to help you 7 days a week. Daniel's Farm and Greenhouse, family owned and your outdoor experts. On Juggerman and St. Peters and at danielsfarmandgreenhouse.com.
You and I might have something in common, back pain. I can tell you where I go for help, Esquire Sports Medicine, the spine of St. Louis. They can put athletes back on the field so they can clearly help us. Esquire Sports Medicine, hands-on chiropractic help on Big Bend, just north of Highway 40, 314-644-0885, EsquireSportsMedicine.com, EsquireSportsMedicine.com.
We've been here 30 years, 30 Christmases in this house, and we have the traditions that most families have.
That's Terry talking about her experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We did Rhino Shield 14 years ago, and the house still looks the same as the first day. Rhino Shield really worked with me to help me get just the right, nice, soft yellow, and it's 14 years later, and it's the same color.
The main reason Terry called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by its 25-year transferable warranty.
It just sounded wonderful that we could have the house coated with Rhino Shield and not have to worry about it again for 25 years.
Take it from Terry. Give Rhino Shield a call now for a free evaluation. 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO. Or visit 877-25rhino.com.
There have been neighbors that have come by and said, "Did you just have your house painted?" Because they wanted to know who the contractor was. And I said, "No, it's actually Rhino Shield."
877-25rhino.com.
News Talk STL. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
A world become one of salads and sun. Only a fool would say that. A boy with a plan.
We could get your reaction, sir. The Israelis bombed a hospital in Gaza that killed 20 people, including 5 journalists. When did this happen? This happened overnight, today. I didn't know that. Any reaction to this? Are you Well, going I'm to not talk happy to about Prime it. I don't want to see it. At the same time, we have to end that whole nightmare. I'm the one that got the hostages out. I got them out. And I said a long time ago, I'm going to get them out. But when we get down to that final 10 or 20, these people aren't going to release them because they're dead after they release them. So it's a nasty situation. Very nasty, horrible thing.
431 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arp show. And the president is right. It is a nasty situation over there in Israel, Tim. And we've got former Senator Jim Talent on to discuss this and much more. Former U.S. Senator Jim Talent and chairman of the Reagan Institute.
I'm watching this and just wondering, who's running the show.
This Jim Talent segment is brought to you by Royal Banks of Missouri.
Senator, good afternoon. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fine, Chris. Hope you guys are well.
We are well. We are. Thank you for asking. All right. Let's dive into the situation over in Israel. Of course, last week, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called up 60,000 reservists for a possible operation in Gaza. Israeli officials are discussing relocating Gazans to South Sudan. Your thoughts on that, and is that feasible?
Well, that was a story, I think about 10 days ago. I think the Israelis at the time, anyway, denied it. Now, if they've confirmed that they're discussing it, I would be surprised. It's a long way away. I think what they're going to do is they're going to clear out Gaza City, which is where most of the Hamas infrastructure remains. They're going to get every Hamas member that they possibly can, and then they're going to turn northern Gaza into a kind of Area B, which is a designation that applies to parts of the West Bank where they jointly administer those areas with the PLO or that maybe some other Arab authority. And then they're going to they're going to go whenever they need to into South Gaza to continue after Hamas. And I think at that point, the war is pretty effectively going to end. And with it, and Hamas will end, and with it, as the president said, the oppression, the threat to Israel and the oppression of the people of Gaza. At that point, we can do something. Those who are so interested in it around the world can do something about rebuilding Gaza. But the Hamas had their last chance, I think, about 6 weeks ago when they threw Steve Witkoff's deal back in his face. And, you know, Abba Eban said many years ago, he was a foreign minister of Israel, he said, the Palestinians never miss an opportunity to miss an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was Hamas's last chance, in my view. And I think Israel's going to get them, and I think we're going to be better off for it. I'm certainly rooting for that outcome.
You know, Senator, some of your colleagues, well, they're maybe past colleagues on the other side of the political aisle, we'll just all call them generally are the people that are on the other side of the aisle that don't always agree with us. I saw some of them interviewed this weekend about this very exact same subject. And Senator, it used to be an old line, right? It used to be an old saying, politics stop at the water's edge, right? Like we're supposed to have a united front as a nation when we're talking about foreign policy issues. And Senator, if it was one Democrat interviewed this weekend about this issue, it was all of them. They were all extremely nasty when it came to questions about Benjamin Netanyahu. They obviously do not like him. It seems to be a personal animus as much as anything else. And they really cast a lot of doubt on what he's doing. As I don't think it's our place, right, to call into question what the leader of another country is doing, as long as they're a country like Israel where all they want is peace and representative democracy. It's a real shame we've gotten to this point, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I don't begrudge anybody who wants to criticize, you know, in Congress, our government or foreign governments. I mean, certainly within limits, but that's if the criticism makes some sense, and it doesn't here. Israel is fighting on behalf of everybody who believes in Western civilization in this. And if Democratic members of Congress want to take Hamas's part in this, they can do it. The targets on our backs. You know, the Israelis point this out, and they are so right. I mean, the targets on our back, we're the great Satan. They're the little Satan, literally. And in defending themselves, they're defending us as well. And the other thing about it is, Tim, I just don't think much of the world has adjusted to the fact that Israel has emerged from this war. It's a long war as far as their wars go, as the dominant power in the Middle East. They're operating now to protect themselves in Gaza. They're operating in southern Syria to make certain that the new government there doesn't militarize the south part of Syria. They're operating in Lebanon, and they're going to support the Lebanese government's call for Hezbollah to disarm. They just attacked Yemen. They are dominating their strategic environment, and they have the support of the United States in that because it advances American national interests. And I just think, you know, the kids on the campus of Columbia, or Emmanuel Macron, or, you know, the progressives in Congress can complain about it, but it's not going to stop it. And I'm very glad about that.
Speaking with Jim Talent, former U.S. Senator and chairman of the Reagan Institute's National Leadership Council. Senator, the South Korean president is at the White House today, and South Korea has promised to spend $150 billion to help the U.S. revive its shipbuilding manufacturing industry. We've talked about this many times, how we are behind in ships compared to Russia. I think this is a great idea. It just kind of bothers me a little bit that South Korea is helping the great United States with its shipbuilding, spending $150 billion. It's something about that just doesn't sit right, even though it's necessary.
Yeah, shipbuilding's a big subject. It's probably the hardest of the defense industries to rebuild, because if you've ever visited a shipyard, I mean, it's obviously massive. It's the kinds of machining, the kinds of equipment you need are unique. And the South Koreans, next to the Chinese, have the biggest shipbuilding segment of their economy in the world. So I really welcome this. They've already bought a commercial shipyard in Philadelphia with the approval and the blessing of the United States government. As a matter of fact, the Secretary of the Navy went out there, I think, last month to talk about it. So the issue is, Chris, whether we are going to start building American naval vessels in partnership with them. And that's a sensitive subject. I think if we want to produce ships quickly, we may have to do that. And there are ways of doing that where they build the basics, the hull, then they sail it over here and we finish it. But this kind of partnership I welcome, and it shows the convergence of trade and national security policy, because this is all part of the trade agreement the administration wrapped up with the South Koreans last month and the new president.
Indeed. Senator, regarding South Korea, could you just help our audience understand? And I think we all generally know why they're important, right? Because, they're watching North Korea for us. They've got the Russians in their general hemisphere. They've got the Chinese there. South Korea, an extremely important ally, right, in that region for the U.S. So it's important for us to have good relations with them.
Yeah, it really is. It stabilizes the peninsula, which is really important. And you mentioned North Korea. Since we allowed North Korea to get nuclear weapons, that's not going to happen with Iran. North Korea, which is otherwise, it's an economic basket case. Now, they do have considerable capabilities on the ground, although I think if there was actually a war, we would see their ability to operationalize that is pretty limited. So they're a very important stabilizing influence on the peninsula. They're an important ally in the region, not as important as Japan. They don't have the naval capabilities, but we definitely want to be working with them. And they don't like it. They wouldn't like it if I was an American government official and said this, but they're part of the regional powers that we have in a ring around China that helps contain Chinese aggression. They don't want to be seen that way because they're right next to China and they need to have decent relationships with China. But that's the case. And I'll say this, that one of the major constraints on a Chinese move against Taiwan is the almost certainty that if we entered such a war, it would escalate horizontally into other countries, into Japan and South Korea. The Chinese do not want a determined coalition of the United States and other regional powers to emerge against them. That may be the most substantial deterrent against the balloon going up in Taiwan that we have now. So this is a very important meeting. It was important we got the trade agreement. I imagine the president's going to welcome this investment, and let's hope it pays off for shipbuilding in the United States.
Senator, last week it seemed a very good possibility that there would be trilateral talks between Ukraine, Russia, and the United States, and maybe even direct talks between the presidents of Ukraine and Russia. But Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said on NBC over the weekend that there is no plan for a meeting between Russian President Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Your thoughts on this?
I don't know how much time you have. I would like to mention, in the context of Ukraine, that the President Trump knows, and Putin knows as well, this whole exercise has been a strategic disaster, a disaster for Russia on a strategic level. They hoped to split and weaken NATO and show how powerful they were. Well, the Finns and the Swedes are now in NATO after 40 years of neutrality, and the Finns have real capabilities. I mean, that really matters in terms of the capabilities of the alliance. The Europeans are increasing their defense spending. President Trump has secured that goal of American foreign policy, and I think they really mean it, particularly the Germans, and they're the key. I think this new German chancellor understands that this is going to be very popular back home. He's actually doing something for the national interests of Germany instead of letting in millions more migrants. The Russian army is exposed as third rate. I don't want to say it's a joke, but we're in the third year of the war and they can't beat Ukraine. They can't conduct maneuver warfare. Putin has lost his position essentially in the Middle East. His ally Iran has, I don't want to say been destroyed, but I mean, they're no longer a major player in the Middle East. It's been a strategic disaster, and Trump wants him to take the L now and stop. And Putin doesn't want to do that. So when you translate that into negotiation tactics, he doesn't want to come to the table And so he keeps insisting on huge concessions. He probably couldn't even get at the table as a condition of negotiating. And I think that Trump is going to have to, if he wants him to come to the table, he's going to have to impose greater sanctions on him. Now, the president doesn't want to do that because he wants to save that leverage for when the negotiation actually starts. So he doesn't want to shoot his bullets now. So these are two very good negotiators on a tactical level, Trump and Putin, and they're going back and forth on this. And we will see now what President Trump does in response to this. I mean, you want to see the war end, but it is fascinating to watch the two of them going after each other.
And Senator, one aspect of all this that we really haven't mentioned much, but it hasn't gone anywhere. We just haven't brought it to the fore. It was mentioned today during some of the questioning that the president and the South Korean president took at the White House today. China, Senator, what is China thinking, doing while they're watching all this interplay between Putin and Western Europe and the United States of America regarding the Ukrainian situation?
They're using Russia as a gas station and coveting Eastern Russia. I think I mentioned this in the show before. This is one of the things that, Putin has declared his unlimited friendship with the Chinese, and it shows how much his goal has been in the last decade or so, just to screw around with our interests, because Russia and China have traditionally been competitors for obvious reasons. So China put out a map a few months ago. You can Google this, a map of Eastern Russia, and they gave the cities Chinese names. There's 90 million Chinese living, and the Chinese don't do anything like that by mistake, okay, or inadvertently. There's 90 million Chinese living on their side of the border, and about 3 or 4 million Russians. I mean, look, you guys may live long enough to see, Eastern Russia in Chinese hands. So I think they're seeing their ally weakened and discredited, and they don't like that. But I don't think it's changed their major ambitions, either in East Asia or globally, which is one reason why it's in our interest to get this war over with, so that we can, not that it's diverting a lot of our attention. I think it's much worse for Putin than it is for us, but, we want to stabilize Eastern Europe and then focus on the main point.
Yes, we do indeed. That is Senator Jim Talent, former U.S. Senator Chairman of the Reagan Institute's National Leadership Council. You can find him at Jim Talent on Twitter X. Senator, thanks so much for all the time today. We covered a lot of ground, and we'll look forward to having you back again, of course, next week.
I look forward to it too, fellas. Have a good week.
Thank you very much as well. All right, that's Senator Jim Talent there. If you just now jumped in the car because you're getting off a little early, or maybe this is the normal time and you missed the Jim Talent segment, everything's podcasted. You should not miss the Jim Talent segment. As Jeff Allen says, it's must-listen radio, and we cover a lot of ground. It seems like everything happens over the weekend. We got to catch up to it on Mondays. 4:45 coming up is Chris's Corner. At 5:07, a very special guest, Catherine Hanaway, who is going to be the next Attorney General for the state of Missouri. Governor Kehoe has announced that he will be appointing her as Andrew Bailey heads to Washington, D.C. to help Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, and the bunch clean up the swamp. They need all the Missourians, apparently. They can get up there. Susie Moore from Red State, she'll join us at 5:25. All that and more is coming up next here on Monday's edition, the Manic Monday edition of the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 101.9, 94.1. This is News Talk STL.
There in his place, standing inside his brown shoes. You do his 9 to 5, drag yourself.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
There on the screen, a man with a dream.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Nice, cool night again tonight. We'll actually see clearing skies and then more sunshine for Tuesday. A low of 54 degrees, a high of 78, about 10 degrees below the normal high. Northeast winds about 5 to 10 miles an hour and plenty of sunshine. Wednesday, partly cloudy skies, and it clouds up a little bit more later in the day and the evening. High of 79, though. Another day with a high in the 70s. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
On the next
Larry Connors USA.
As always with Larry Connors USA, you're going to get news, analysis, opinion, and education.
Larry Connors USA. Now weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
Everyone needs an awesome lawyer. Hey, yeah, I don't just say that as a I'm not just defending my profession, right? I'm saying it as a fact. And if you have done zero planning for your future, I'm talking estate planning, wills, powers of attorney, things of that sort, it's okay. You can start at any time. You can contact the non-stuffy lawyers, the fantastic attorneys at Civia Law. Todd Civia and the gang at Civia Law, they're standing by. CiviaLaw.com, 833-995-WILL, to assist you and all your family members today when it comes to estate planning and elder law needs. As I said, wills and trusts and powers of attorney, 2-week turnaround on completed documents. I could tell you, lawyers have a tough time promising that. The fact that Todd Civia is putting that down for me to tell you about really means something there. It means that they want to make you the happy camper, so you refer all your friends and family into them as well, and that you are properly taken care of as well. Avoid probate. I did not specialize in estate planning, but I helped the estate planning attorneys in my firm out from time to time. Every once in a while, they would ask me to stop by probate court because I did a lot of litigation, so I was always down in the courthouses, and so they'd be like, hey, Tim, can you swing by probate court? And I would go, oh, please don't make me go there. Look, the probate court people are very lovely, but the probate system is not. And so you can avoid it by going to Todd Civia and the fine folks at the Civia Law Centers. Yes, plural. There's many of them. 7 convenient locations in and around Metro St. Louis. The first 10 callers this week that mentioned Tim Jones sent me, you'll receive a free complimentary $300 strategy session. A complimentary $300 strategy session. How fantastic is that? You must mention Tim Jones and News Talk STL. 833-995-WILL. That's 833-995-WILL, or simply go to CiviaLaw.com. That's CiviaLaw.com.
Hi, Sean Long from STL Fenceworks. A new fence or deck is an investment in your home and your lifestyle. But how do you ensure that you're getting the most out of that investment? At STL Fenceworks, we know the key is satisfaction. Satisfaction means getting a fence or deck that not only meets your needs, but exceeds your expectations. Satisfaction means working with a team that cares about your project as much as you do. Satisfaction means having confidence in the quality of your new fence or deck, knowing that it was built with the best of materials and workmanship. STL Fenceworks, your satisfaction is our passion. And for me, satisfaction is knowing that providing for your family is how I provide for mine. Visit STLFenceworks.com and experience the satisfaction in making your backyard dreams into a reality.
Tony Colombo here for the Farmers Co-op Old Town Country Store in Old Town St. Peters, where they have a huge selection of products and services for your yard and home, including a full line of lawn and garden products, a full line of products for animal care, and that includes anything from livestock to the family dog or cat. They'll fill any size propane tank for about half the price of a new one, and so much more. Visit them in St. Peters on 2nd Street, right behind the QT at 70 and Mid-Rivers Mall Drive, and check out all their products and services at oldtowncountrystore.com.
Concerned about the condition of your windows driving up your energy bills? I was too. Until I called STL Windows and Doors. Call today for your free in-home estimate and start saving tomorrow. 314-277-5952 or stlwindowsanddoors.com.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stiefel. Contact your Stiefel financial advisor at stiefel.com. That's STIFEL.com. It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
Driving home this evening, I could have sworn we had it all worked out. You had this boy believing way beyond the shadow of a doubt.
Ken Waller. He's been there and done that in Jefferson County, and he's hoping to add another feather into his cap. He is currently a state representative. Someone could argue that you're not aligned with the MAGA movement on the school choice issue. What would you say on that? What are you going to do if someone runs to your right on that? I guess is my question.
Okay. let's just be honest. If I'm looking at all the things that I would support, if I have to support 100% of the things that MAG or whomever else does, I'm not representing my district. I'm not staying true to my convictions. So if somebody tells me that I'm 7 issues and I'm bad on one, okay. I'd rather be batting, 883 than bat 1,000. And if that's the issue that I'm not for, all of a sudden that makes me not a MAGA guy or not a Trump guy. I don't agree with that, Tim. I just don't.
4:53 on Tim Jones and Chris Arps show, and that is Ken Waller. I hate to say late.
I know it's hard.
Ken
to
Waller.
Say
It's hard to say that because such a guy that was so full of life, gregarious. Now he's gone. Talk about a little bit, Tim, how he was Republican. He was not ashamed, as you said, to wear that moniker. But Jefferson County is traditionally a blue-collar kind of union town. He was very, very pro-union. He was not for the right to work.
Yep.
But how did his values and Jefferson County values settle into Republican values, and Republicans took over Jefferson County?
So if Ken were here, he'd probably argue and say that they always had those values. They just didn't know that they should be voting for them as Republicans.
I think he said
right?
something like that. Yeah.
Because and look, as you could tell right there, I didn't know he was going to be leaving us so quickly. Up until my last conversation with him, I never gave up trying to get Kenny to agree with me on school choice. And the reason I kept after him was because we could have a conversation like that, Chris, and afterwards we're still buddies. He didn't care.
What was the reason he was not for school choice? Was it the unions, because teachers unions, or what was his reason?
I think it was partly that, and also because, look, Ken believed that certain public school districts needed to just be left alone, and he believed that Jefferson County was fine. I think they had room for improvement and still do. I think Ken would also agree that the reason he fits so well was he was part of that Republican Renaissance, and he was a bridge between the old school conservative Democrats. Look, let's be honest. The reason Jefferson County votes more Republican now is not because they imported a bunch of hardcore conservative Republicans. All those old conservative Democrats woke up one day or over the series of several years and realized the Democratic Party they had taught by their parents and grandparents to vote for no longer existed. Yeah. So what Kenny would say was, look, I and many people like me, we always believed in God. We always went to church, very pro-life.
Right.
And that's left the Democratic Party. Pro-Second Amendment, right? So these are all the things Ken, when I would challenge him on labor issues and school choice, he would come back at me and say, yeah, but I'm this, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this. And that was part of that answer there where he was like, Tim, I'm 95% with you. There's just a couple things I disagree with you on. And you know what I do appreciate about him? He did vote against that stadium subsidy bill. And I thought Ken, as kind of a government manager, kind of more establishment leaning guy, I thought he would have voted for that. He sounded like me on that. He said, why are we giving billions of dollars to billionaire sports owners? So I have a smile on my face because of that. I'm really going to miss Ken Waller. I love debating him.
So basically, Jefferson County was Trump country before Trump turned blue-collar union Republicans, Democrats into Republicans. Jefferson County was just ahead of the curve, basically.
I think you got it. I think you got it. And Trump, right, Chris? Trump tapped into that.
Yeah, big time.
Trump knew that there was a bunch of Jefferson counties across the country, and he tapped into that, and he convinced people who had maybe been brought up as Reagan Democrats who had forgotten about that, or JFK Democrats who now lean Republican. They're now all voting Republican in Jefferson County, and Ken Waller was at the tip of the spear on that.
Exactly. No speaker stump speech today, but we will have a special guest, Catherine Hanaway, the incoming Attorney General for the state of Missouri. We'll talk with her, and at 5:24, we'll speak with Susie Moore, Deputy Managing Editor at RedState.com. We'll get the latest headlines, and at 5:45, we'll lighten it up a little bit. Listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli here with our great friend Chris Cooper from Serenity Wealth Management. Hi, Chris. How are you, Vic? I don't want to put anybody else down, but that when you go up and visit you at Serenity Wealth, your place looks like home.
So a lot of financial advisory offices, they have, the big mahogany desk or the big marble entryways and things like that. The stock market channel on the TV when you walk in the door, right? That doesn't really drive a good conversation. Good financial guidance and advice starts with a good conversation. People are nervous. People are afraid to talk about finances, right? And so you can see a little standoffish. Well, my objective is to try to have a good, casual conversation. By having those conversations about life, goals, objectives, it's what makes me understand what our financials are supposed to fund.
So if somebody does want to have a good conversation, how do they do that? How do they find you?
Our website is the best way to do that because you can get all the information you need to understand where we are, get a little bit more information, all that. SerenityWealthNow.com.
Reach out to Chris and Stacy today at SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
Attention all gun enthusiasts. Don't miss the big Lincoln County Gun Show, September 5th through 7th at the Knights of Columbus Hall in Troy, Missouri. With over 450 tables of pistols, handguns, rifles, long guns, shotguns, ammo, and more. The fun starts Friday, September 5th at 4 and continues all weekend. Admission is just $10 and good for the entire weekend. Kids 12 and under get in free with discounts for veterans and first responders. The big Lincoln County Gun Show at the Troy, Missouri KC Hall the weekend of September 5th. More info at bkpromotions.us.
Hi, I'm Rodney Wallner.
And I'm Jen Wallner with the Wallner Home Selling Team at Berkshire Hathaway.
Hey, Jen, how do you sell your home for top dollar?
That's easy. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
What if I want a flexible commission plan?
Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
What's the best time to sell your home?
Right now, call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
For all your real estate needs, call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
That's 314-810-SOLD.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green.
This is News Talk STL
At 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. President Trump has signed an order to ban flag burning, even though it's protected free speech. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
The president's order directs the Justice Department to investigate instances of flag burning.
When you burn the American flag, it incites riots at levels that we've never seen before. People go crazy.
He said flag burners should receive a 1-year jail sentence. However, in 1989, the Supreme Court ruled that burning the American flag constitutes symbolic speech that's protected by the First Amendment. Greg Clugston, Washington.
President Trump says National Guard troops may be sent soon to other cities.
His focus is on Chicago.
It's a disaster. What's going on in Chicago?
Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson called the president's approach uncoordinated, uncalled for, and unsound.
And they say, we don't need him. Freedom, freedom. He's a dictator. He's a dictator. And when I see what's happening to our cities, and then you send in troops, instead of being praised, they're saying you're trying to take over the republic.
Officials say the crime rate has dropped in Chicago. 2,000 troops have been deployed to Washington, D.C. President Trump also indicated plans to assist New York. Ed Donahue, Washington.
President Trump's special envoy Keith Kellogg says officials are working very, very hard on efforts to end the 3-year war between Russia and Ukraine. Kellogg said in Kyiv on Monday that officials are hoping to get to a position where in the near term we have, with lack of a better term, security guarantees that address Ukraine's fears of another invasion by Russia in the future. A lack of progress in talks is fueling doubts about whether a peace settlement could be on the horizon. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 349 points. More at townhall.com.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money
money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code WEALTH25 to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code WEALTH25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code WEALTH25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Nice, cool night again tonight. We'll actually see clearing skies and then more sunshine for Tuesday. A low of 54 degrees, a high of 78, about 10 degrees below the normal high. Northeast winds about 5 to 10 miles an hour and plenty of sunshine. Wednesday, partly cloudy skies, and it clouds up a little bit more later in the day and the evening. High of 79, though. Another day with a high in the 70s. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
I've been telling you about Mosquito Joe for your backyard and stuff. Now, also, don't forget if you're having a special event. Their special event spray allows your guests to enjoy themselves while keeping mosquitoes and other bugs away during the event. Call today and get a free quote and ensure the comfort of your guests at your outdoor gathering. Trust your locally owned and operated Mosquito Joe. 1-855-ASK-A-JOE. Get $25 off any new service with Mosquito Joe. Just mention Vic, and the offer's good through October 1st.
Jamie Allman here with the Allman Report. Pleased to be with Jordan Rosenblum. Google the bagel loan. That's what it's all about. Jordan, tell me about purchasing a home, brother.
Purchasing a home right now, it's a tough market. You're going to see a lot of competition. On the bagel loan that we have, you're going to have no closing costs, no title fees, no appraisal fees, no lender fees. Saves an average client almost $4,000 on a transaction. Customer service, unbelievable. Text, call anytime.
As I know, as a real estate agent, Google the bagel loan. Google the bagel loan, folks.
NMLS number 226715.
If you find yourself feeling out of place in the world, it's comforting to know conservative values haven't been abandoned everywhere.
The far left wants to destroy conservative values in America.
This is News Talk STL. Welcome home. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you could put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Congratulations to Catherine Hanaway, Missouri's 45th Attorney General. Catherine, I'll hand it over to you for a few words.
Governor, thank you so much. It is a big day, and I am maybe a little choked up already. There are a lot of thank yous I need to say, but the first and most important one is to you for making this appointment, and to you and Claudia for serving our state so incredibly well.
And welcome back into the Tim Jones and Chris Arp show. That's a voice I know extremely well. I never served with Catherine Hanaway, who was the first woman speaker of the Missouri House, a Republican, not a Democrat. I always like to point out.
And she was hugely responsible for that too, that takeover.
She was. And Chris, even though I never served with her, I got to know her fairly quickly after I did serve, because my first speaker, Rod Jetton, worked with Catherine, and I believe many now accept the proposition that it was Catherine and Rod that accelerated the Republican revolution here in the state of Missouri, such that I got to serve in the majority and not in the minority. Chris, at that time, though, we still had a very thin majority because Catherine and Rod and all the folks that had worked with them at that time had literally just taken over. The Democrats, when I got there, they weren't used to being in the minority yet. There was 70 7 or 8 of them. We only had
Mhm.
like a 6 or 7 seat majority. And then I was very proud of the work we did to continue to advance that majority eventually into a super majority by the time I left in 2015. So,
And my late friend Sherman Thompson Parker came in that 2003 class, and he also worked for Catherine Hanaway when she was the district director for Senator Bond. So go back a long way with her, and proud of what she's accomplished, and now she's a new AG.
Indeed. All right. Well, we just walked down that memory lane, and now we bring ourselves up to the present, where Catherine Hanaway will be re-entering the public sector world of politics and public policy as the next Attorney General of the state of Missouri. Catherine, welcome to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show here at News Talk STL. Madam Speaker, it's a pleasure to speak with you once again.
Well, Mr. Speaker, it's a pleasure to speak with you. And Chris, thank you for remembering our great friend Sherman Parker. What a contribution he made in a short life to Missouri. And it's pretty wild, guys, to sort of be back after like almost 15 years of not being a public servant. Walking back in is fun, exciting, and a little scary.
Well, Catherine, we're going to get into all the nitty gritty and stuff, but you just kind of led me to my first question is why? I think a lot of folks are wondering, what you have accomplished so much in your career and have so much to be proud of. And yet you've decided to take a break from your private sector world. And even, and I always say, we're always still involved in politics and public policy, right, Catherine? We always are. But you're now going full-throated back in. Why did you make the decision? Why did you accept the position that Governor Kehoe offered to you?
Well, I really think I can make a difference in this office. We've had 3 consecutive great attorneys general. Unfortunately, we didn't have Holly Schmidt or the current General Bailey in that office long enough. And I am committed to staying through the 3 years. And if the voters will have me for another 4, I think we need that kind of continuity in the office. But much more importantly, I think you have an opportunity from that office in a unique way to help Missourians who are either victims of crime, victims of telemarketing, or, financial scams. Time be a constitutional lawyer for all the things that we've seen General Bailey and General Schmidt lead on. I will say I'm not going to have quite as much fun as General Schmidt did because he had Biden to pick on, and I like the president now.
Catherine, I think you were probably the odds-on favorite to be appointed as the Attorney General, me included in that. But one thing did surprise me in your speech, that you were going to run for the office after these 3 years. Can you delve more into that decision?
Yeah, well, it's not a made decision yet. I mean, I'm going to get a pretty good sense over the next 3 years if Missourians think that's a good idea. And if they do, the calling to service is real for me. Like, I have a belief, that a very strong faith. I think this was sort of a God thing to get this call that I was not expecting out of the blue. And when asked to serve, I want to step up and do it. But if Missourians don't like that idea, then maybe I don't run for re-election. But again, I think the office needs continuity. I think Missourians need an attorney general who worries about the constitutional issues and kind of the bread and butter stuff in the office. And I think I have the right experience and talent to do those things.
Madam Speaker, and soon to be Attorney General, a lot of Missourians are just getting reacquainted with you, so to speak, and probably wondering where you are on a host of issues. One of the biggest battles we've been fighting over the last couple of years has been the issue of life. We had the notorious Amendment 3 on the ballot last year that the voters narrowly approved, and then the legislature responded this year, as you know, and has placed what is ironically going to be a new Amendment 3 that Republicans are going to be asking voters to vote for. You're likely going to be very involved in the expected litigation around that. Can you tell our listeners where you are on the issues of life and especially this new wrinkle that we didn't have back in the day, this issue of the trans industry, and that's part and parcel of the new Amendment 3 as well, protecting kids?
Yeah. So first of all, think you know, I hope everyone knows, that I am very committed to the sanctity of human life. I believe very strongly in the pro-life agenda. There is litigation currently in the Attorney General's office where the Attorney General is trying to get some clarification on what the First Amendment 3 really did, and taking the position that it did not repeal every pro-life law that's on the books. I will continue to pursue that very vigorously. Been outside clinics when protests were going on, speaking to the people, encouraging the protesters. Like, I'm about as pro-life as you can get.
Mm-hmm.
And then with respect to the issue of whether children should be subjected to gender reassignment surgeries and therapies, absolutely not. Just full stop.
Madam Speaker, when your appointment was announced, I can say that generally everyone was pretty positive, very favorable about it. But of course, you can't always please all of the critics. Some of the concerns that the people were expressing was when you were in private practice about the Bayer glyphosate case and the grain belt situation. Can you address the concerns some folks may have with that, because you were kind of on the other side of the Attorney General's office?
Yeah, so I was only on the other side of the Attorney General's office on the grain belt thing,
Okay.
which is, a set of transmission lines running across northern Missouri and of the firm. And when I go to the AG's office, I won't be able to work on that issue, but the people who have been working on that issue will just continue. They've been, doing a great job, and they'll go forward. I don't think people who care about that particular investigation are going to see a difference, because I can't weigh in on it. It's a legal, ethical rule that I have to recuse myself. Glyphosate Roundup. I've been with Missouri Ag and the farmers who really want to continue to use that product because it's much more effective than all of its predecessors, and it results in greater productivity for farmers. They literally are feeding the world. So that one's easy, and I continue to be passionate about it.
Mm-hmm. And Catherine, just to follow up on that, there were, I think, 9 Republican senators who worked very hard against that Bayer bill last year. I don't know how much interplay you're going to have with that situation once you become the Attorney General, but there were those 9 senators, and I believe a dozen folks in the House who were opposed to that bill. And I think some of the class actions that have been brought have actually been brought by farmers. So there is 2 sides on that issue, so to speak. I don't know if you'd like to comment on that, or if you don't think you'll have much effect on that issue once you're in the AG's office.
I don't think I'm going to have a lot of effect on that issue. The issue is pretty simple, just for your listeners. It was legislation that said whatever the standard is set by the FDA for labeling on a product like Roundup, anything really any pesticide or herbicide that's sold in Missouri, that Missouri can't require a different or warning label. And that's simply because, the EPA, I'm sorry, I said FDA, the EPA has said Roundup doesn't cause cancer and doesn't require a warning label on it. And even the Ninth Circuit out in California has agreed, which isn't, it's becoming a more conservative circuit, but isn't the most conservative circuit in the world. So it's just interesting. And frankly, it is a tension between the trial bar and the people who want to continue to use Roundup. And there's not a good alternative to it. So that's the real problem.
Madam Speaker, is there a particular issue that you're going to focus on more when you become Attorney General? A pet issue maybe that you have?
Oh, yeah. There's no question. It's crime and public safety. As a former U.S. attorney, I was the chief federal prosecutor in the eastern half of Missouri, worked constantly with law enforcement, support the men and women in blue. Right now, I'm still on the boards of the Backstoppers, the Police Foundation, the St. Louis Crime Commission. I think that eradicating crime in our state, which we won't ever do completely, but dramatically lowering the rate of crime, is the single most important thing we can do to bring jobs back to Missouri, to get companies to relocate here, and get the next generations to want to stay here and raise their families here.
Mm-hmm. And Madam Speaker, I'm so glad you went to that issue, because it's the one I was going to ask you about as well. We cover it almost daily here since we're here in the St. Louis region. So, Governor Kehoe, Senator Nick Schroer, Representative Brad Christ, they led the fight for a massive change with the oversight board that was finally accomplished after, 5 or 6 years in the hopper last year. And many believe that will be extremely helpful. But Catherine, we need more, right? We need the city leaders to take this issue seriously. I know you have a lot of relationships going back many decades. Do we all have some semblance of hope that maybe with the change in leadership we had at the mayor's office, that there might be some Democrats in the city that want to work with the Republican leadership on the state level to do something about this crime epidemic in the city? Because it's really making St. Louis a shell of its former self just in our lifetimes.
There's no question about state takeover of the police department, so that there's this board of citizens making sure that the leadership of the police department is more accountable on eradicating crime, reducing crime, and a new mayor, frankly, who can really work closely with the governor, is going to make a big difference. We also have a new U.S. attorney. I think the outgoing U.S. attorney was great, but the new U.S. attorney is just an absolutely phenomenal guy who worked for Eric Schmidt in the AG's office and was an assistant U.S. attorney with me. Plus, Tim Gardner's gone. Gabe Gore's there.
Mm-hmm.
It's the right mix. And what I can do from the AG's office is work very closely with all those people. And hopefully, as they need resources, the way the AG's office works, for the most part, we go in and prosecute crimes when we're invited. I think we're going to get a lot more invitations from the city, and probably have an opportunity to swear some people in from our office as special assistant U.S. attorneys to help prosecute crime here. So we need boots on the ground from the police, and then we need prosecutors that'll put people in jail, and then we need judges who will give them long sentences.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think Tom Albus, the new U.S. attorney, Tim, I think you went to CBC and went to high school.
SLU High.
Oh, I'm sorry, SLU. I know CBC and SLU got that rivalry thing, so I apologize for that.
Yeah.
Catherine, I want to ask you, St. Louis County, St. Louis City, now we're seeing it in St. Charles County. Public corruption just seems to be on the rise here in the area, probably Missouri too. I'm sure that'll be a focus of yours as well.
Yeah, there's no question about it. And I really want to commend for what he did in that arena. I think he went further and did more than any previous attorney general to make sure that our public officials act with integrity. Obviously, Kim Gardner was the most high profile case, and he's got, the investigation against County Executive Page and the sheriff. But he's doing that. We know about those because we all live in this region. Those cases he just did a phenomenal job in that regard.
Mm-hmm. Catherine Hanaway, former Speaker of the Missouri House and soon to be the next Attorney General for the state of Missouri, following, as she said, U.S. Senators Hawley, Schmidt, and now Andrew Bailey. Catherine, it'll be great to follow your journey over the next few weeks and months. We hope you're not a stranger here. You're welcome back at News Talk STL anytime.
Thank you both. It really was a pleasure, and all the success in the world to you guys.
Same to you. Thank you so much.
Same to you as well. Thank you as well. Catherine Hanaway there.
She answered the tough questions.
She did.
I like that. She didn't dance around it, dodged around it, answered it.
She did. And you know what, Chris? It's an appointed position. And so, as she said, the voters will have the opportunity of a choice in that position in 3 years. So they're going to have 3 years of Catherine Hanaway to watch.
Yeah.
And they're going to decide whether or not they want to give her a full term. And you know what? She left a little wiggle room there, I noticed. And I'm glad we pushed her on that because she said, right now I intend to, she used the whole, right now I intend to run, but I'm not sure I'm going to run, but I'm probably going to run.
Yeah.
So,
because last week it sounded like, yes, I'm appointed
Yeah.
and I am running for re-election. Write it down.
look, I think she wants to see if she likes this or not,
Yeah, exactly.
3 years is a long time, as you know. It's almost an entire term.
Yeah.
And so we'll see what happens. And, with as high profile as Schmidt and Hawley
Mhm.
and Bailey have been, I think Missourians have gotten used to that, and they want an attorney general like a Ken Paxton or like some of these others around the country that you see and hear about. They want an attorney general who fights for them every single day against the overreaches of government at all levels. And so it's going to be interesting to see what kind of style she brings to the office.
Exactly. And Tim, as a recovering lawyer, you know that Catherine heading a major law firm is probably taking a major pay cut.
Yeah.
To take this job.
Just so folks know, Hush Blackwell is one of the largest law firms in the country. I don't know where they rank in the schematic, but she's the managing partner of that law firm. And
She's the boss.
And yeah, she's one of the bosses. They have probably a management committee, but she's one of the top bosses and was probably bringing home a top boss paycheck for that. And so it is a big pay cut. She's always had a servant's heart.
Yeah.
But as she also pointed out, she's been out of the public politics realm for about 10 years.
She's at 15. It was hard to believe that much time had passed
Yeah,
since she ran last for office.
Yeah. And so, Chris, the world's changed.
Yeah.
And we'll see whether or not, she evolves into kind of this new Trumpian MAGA world. And I say that in all due respect, because I love what Attorney General Schmidt, Hawley, and Bailey did. And I think people have gotten really used to that. I have. And so that's what I want in my Attorney General. I want a fighter. And so we'll see what happens here. And Catherine's always been a fighter.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
I just wonder if she's going to be a little more lower key than,
Maybe.
than Schmidt and Hawley.
Yeah, I totally understood her answer on grain belt. I'm not sure I'm quite there on what she said about Bayer and glyphosate. I mean, that's an issue where today's the Republican Party yesteryear may have been a little maybe on the corporate side on that. Today's Republican Party is more on the MAHA side of that. So people are very concerned, Chris, about what's going into our food. And I understood what she said about glyphosate, but I've seen studies that say we don't really know.
Yeah.
And if we don't really know, maybe it's not a good idea to be toying with potentially cancer-causing agents.
And I was reading something last week in one of the politics publications that said that the MAHA movement is very, very important within Trump's coalition, and that's something that they're going to focus on in 2026, make America healthy again. Even putting RFK Jr. out there to campaign, they think the MAHA thing is going to be so strong for them.
And you know what that's nice about the MAHA movement, Chris? It bridges normal demographic lines.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You get into those areas of bipartisanship where you appeal to a lot of suburban women, which is something that the Republican Party has struggled with a little bit, especially Donald Trump. But he obviously won them over with the MAHA movement in this last election.
Yeah.
So if I was advising Catherine, I would tell her to embrace it, not run away from it. So
I agree.
All right, Chris, it's 5:25.
No
This
way.
show has been super fast because we've had super awesome guests. We're going to get to another one right now. Susie Moore, take a quick break here. And when we come back, we'll be discussing everything you need to know at redstate.com. Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Nice, cool night again tonight. We'll actually see clearing skies and then more sunshine for Tuesday. A low of 54 degrees, a high of 78, about 10 degrees below the normal high. Northeast winds about 5 to 10 miles an hour and plenty of sunshine. Wednesday, partly cloudy skies, and it clouds up a little bit more later in the day and the evening. High of 79, though. Another day with a high in the 70s. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Bunny Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on the St. Louis radio airways for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can now hear Doug and Safe Bunny Radio every weekend on News Talk STL. But in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeBunnyRadio.com. What else do our listeners need to know, Doug?
Simply put, I focus on helping pre-retirees and retirees build, preserve, and protect retirement assets, and I've been helping my clients solve their insurance and financial needs for the past 33 years. I also strive to educate my clients on how to prepare for retirement, minimize the impact of market volatility on their assets, and deal with the challenges of increased longevity. Call me today at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP. Member FINRA and SIPC.
News Talk STL, the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise, and the Young America's Foundation welcome Steve Forbes to Lindenwood University for an inspiring evening on how free enterprise and entrepreneurship make America great. Discover how free markets and small business drive innovation, prosperity, and opportunity. Thursday, September 18th at Lindenwood University Scheidegger Center for the Arts. And this in-person event is free. Reserve your tickets now at HammondInstitute.org. Brought to you by Mid-Rivers and West News Magazines.
Hey, it's Susie Moore. If new flooring makes you think hassle, think again, because Michael's Flooring is changing the game. For over 30 years, Michael's has been locally owned and trusted for quality, variety, and amazing service. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, laminate, luxury vinyl, or ceramic tile, their expert team makes installing new floors exciting, not stressful. That's why customers keep coming back. Visit Michael's Flooring at St. Peter's, Starting Prairie, Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Are more raids like the one on John Bolton's house coming?
More raids? I don't know. You'd have to ask the Department of Justice. They raided my house, I can tell you that. They did a big raid on my house. They took away everything that wasn't pinned down, and they took away some of that too. No, they raided Mar-a-Lago. They started that. These were bad people that we had in our government before. They raided Mar-a-Lago. They went into my wife's area. They went into my son's area, my young son. And what they did was a disgrace. But how did it work out? Oh, I see. We're in the overall. Oh, I guess it didn't work out too well for him, did it?
Chris, the Korean translator in the back.
Yeah, what's going on there?
Yeah, remember the Korean president's there. So
he's probably like
because
laughing.
I kept hearing like, oh, I'm like, what the?
Yeah.
What's that?
Boy, Chris, Donald Trump there reminding everyone that Democrats like to dish it out, but they don't like to take it. And revenge, woo, best served cold,
Yes.
right? Yeah, indeed. Maybe we should all stop doing this, right? This lawfare, this targeted political lawfare, but not until I guess there's some retribution.
I think it's too late. I think we're going to see political retribution for years to come now.
Sad, it's sad. Let's talk to our next guest and see if she can save us from ourselves.
Oh, Susie Q, baby, I love you.
Susie Q.
I'm the boss. How about that?
Indeed, Susie Moore at Smoozy Q. Susie, can you? Are we going to need to translate this into Korean today, this afternoon, or like that last
Boy,
clip
I
we just
hope
played?
not. I don't have a translator handy, so I'm going to be in trouble if we need one.
I'm sure Grok could help us out. Susie,
Probably Google Translate.
Susie, are we supposed to feel bad for John Bolton? I mean, Susie, I was reminded over the weekend that in a way, John Bolton had plenty of warning on this because this case started back in Trump 1 when he was warned, rightly or wrongly, not to write this book or not to put certain things in it. And he went ahead and did it anyway. So in a way, Susie, I mean, he kind of knew what he was getting into, right? And maybe we shouldn't feel so bad for him.
Well, it's certainly nothing new, as you point out. And it's interesting to I mean, I think that I don't think that President Trump minds there being a hint of retribution to it, even though, as he pointed out, it's not. He's like, you'll have to talk to the people of the Department of Justice. I don't know. But keep in mind, if this was already an ongoing concern in Trump 1, how can it be retribution? The other thing is, if there's legitimate legal reason to pursue a case or pursue charges against John Bolton, then is it really retribution, or is it just, following the law? I understand why there's that perception. And as I said, I don't think that President Trump necessarily minds there being that perception. But if there's legitimate reason to look into prosecuting Bolton, then they should be looking into it.
Susie, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, name we have not heard recently, but he was arrested yesterday or today after surrendering to an ICE office in Baltimore. And it looks like he is getting a one-way ticket to Uganda. Hope he brings his sunscreen.
Yeah, it's interesting, the twists and turns that have all happened in the saga of St. Kilmar. But, as of right now, that same judge in Maryland who, was dealing with his habeas case before is back to saying, no, you can't take him out of the country. I haven't had a chance to look at her order, but it seems to me that, considering particularly that there's a Supreme Court case directly on point with regard to Kilmar himself, that's not going to last for very long. The whole issue originally, he already had a valid deportation order. The only stipulation was that they weren't supposed to ship him back to his home country, which they did. Okay, so then they bring him back. They charge him with federal charges, human smuggling. That's still an ongoing case. They release him from that, and now they're saying, okay, the Supreme Court said we couldn't, we had to abide by the order that said we couldn't remove him to his home country, so we're going to remove him to a third country. And I don't feel sorry for Kilmar, because I think he brought all of this on himself, but I have this vision of him as sort of like a pinball. He's kind of been careening around the court system for the past 4 or 5 months, and he certainly has become the poster boy for the whole immigration struggle. But as frustrating as it has been, and as tedious as following the twists and turns of this case have been, I think in the long run it's going to be to the benefit of the Trump administration and the U.S. government immigration system, because it's sort of sorting out who has what authority. And guess what? The district court judges don't have the authority when it comes to immigration, and that's going to, I think, be borne out.
Yeah, Susie, that's right. We're redefining the scope of everybody's responsibilities here. And Susie, on a broader question to springboard off of that issue of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, Susie, I don't see a lot of Democrats cheerleading for Mr. Garcia like they did in the early days before they knew how horrific the, quote, Maryland man was. And Susie, maybe they've learned their lesson on this one case, but they're also, the Democrats, continuing to cheerlead for crime in their cities. They don't want Donald Trump or any law enforcement person apparently anywhere near urban America. And they're continuing to cheerlead. I saw several stories last week on redstate.com about the fact they want boys to continue to be in biological girls' locker rooms. Susie, the left doesn't seem to be getting the message on much of anything, do they?
No, it's kind of funny. I mean, the saying, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Well, I mean, we've seen that is absolutely not true when it comes to our president, who I'm not trying to insult by calling him old, but he is 79. And he has been at this a while. But he certainly learned that all he needs to do is take a position that's largely popular and just watch the Democrats spin themselves out of control, fighting against it and making fools of themselves in the process. People don't want there to be crime in their neighborhood. People don't want there to be an unfairness and girls not be able to participate in sports, without being forced to undress around biological males, compete against biological males. People feel strongly about that. He's taking over and over and over the 80-20, or now he's calling them the 97-3 positions. And all he's doing is just saying, the sky is blue, and watching the Democrats just make themselves look silly debating him over it.
Susie, the transcripts have been released, the jailhouse interviews with Ghislaine Maxwell. I think that's how you say her name. She said that one, President Clinton never visited Easter Island, never visited his island, and she is saying that Epstein did not kill himself, but she doesn't know who would want to murder him. Is she credible?
I don't think she is, and I don't think she ever should be. I mean, we have to consider who she is as a person and why she is in jail right now, and it's because she was a willing participant for years in basically a monster's scheme to exploit and violate young women. So I don't really know. The only time I would say she might have credibility is if she's saying things that are essentially against her own interest. Well, I don't know how we're going to get that at this point because she is sitting in jail and she does have an appeal of her case. No, I don't put a whole lot of stock in anything that she has to say. And I think that I'm not saying that there aren't legitimate questions that still could use an answer with regard to who all, in addition to Ghislaine and Jeffrey Epstein, may have been bad actors here. But I think anybody looking to her for the answers is looking in the wrong place. And while I don't disagree with the suspicions that people have about the nature of Jeffrey Epstein's death, how would Ghislaine know?
Yeah, truly indeed. Susie Moore, guest here this afternoon. She's at redstate.com and on Twitter X at SmoozyQ. Susie, one of your articles caught my attention relating to the ongoing Russia-Ukrainian war. You wrote an article last week titled Rubio on Russia-Ukraine talks. We should be happy we have a president that's trying to promote peace. Susie, I mean, that's another issue, isn't it? Where Donald Trump seems to be driving the left mad. They told us all that if we reelected him, we'd be in World War III and World War IV, that he would be, causing chaos and catastrophe around the globe. Turns out Donald Trump is actually ending wars and conflicts. And that seems to drive the left absolutely bonkers, doesn't it? And Susie, how about comment on the fact that Marco Rubio has really risen to the task, hasn't he?
Rubio was my first choice in 2016.
Not Cruz?
Who I was rooting for by the. Sorry.
Not Cruz? I'm just kidding.
No,
sorry.
No. Cruz, by the time, that
was my boy.
The matter is, I was opposed to Donald Trump back then, and by the time the Missouri primary was held, Cruz was who I voted for because strategically that made more sense because Rubio essentially had dropped out by that point. But I've always liked him. I don't know that I've always agreed with some of the positions he took as a senator, particularly as part of the Gang of Eight. But I think in his role as Secretary of State and the 8,000 other jobs that have now been assigned to him in this administration, I think he has just shined. I mean, he has really, really excelled and shown himself to be an excellent, partner, if you will, of this president and in forwarding his agenda. And he's also a great spokesman for the administration. And yeah, that's an article that I wrote actually last Sunday because I was on vacation this past week. So I really haven't written a whole lot since then.
Yeah.
But I think he was on like 5 of 5 Sunday shows on top of all his many jobs that he holds. And he just once again was making the point, why is it a bad thing that this president is attempting to broker some type of peace in this ongoing 3.5 years of bloodshed? Why is that a bad thing? Well, it's a bad thing because it's Donald Trump. That's the only reason it's a bad thing. And the fact that there are so many people who would just as soon see a war continue than see Donald Trump be given a win or given any credit for helping to broker some kind of peace deal, it's sick.
Susan, we know that the Democratic brand is deeply unpopular. We've seen the Republicans are winning the voter registration race right now. Democrats are losing the younger voters. But Bernie Sanders was out on his oligarchy tour over the weekend in Wisconsin and Chicago and had full crowds. Keep going, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think more power to Bernie. I think that he should continue on with that. Because guess what? He may have a small contingent of passionate people who believe in his policies and want to attend these things. Well, that's great, but that hasn't really gone anywhere. And I don't really know that it's growing. I think it is a situation where, the squeaky wheel is getting the oil, if you will. So that's getting a lot of attention by a certain segment of left-leaning voters, but the vast majority of, dyed-in-the-wool Democrats are not progressive voters. And I don't know that movement is really going to grow. It might have some growth potential, in the youth market, if you will, but a lot of Gen Z is the opposite. So I don't know. I feel like what it does do is set up a very nice contrast with the policies that are being pursued by this administration and by the Republican Party. And most voters, I think, when they see that contrast and see what has worked and what doesn't work, are not going to find the Bernie brand all that appealing.
Mm-hmm. Susie, I got to ask you about some of your travels. You were in some beautiful parts of our country, weren't you?
I was. We went out to Colorado. We stopped off in Kansas City the first night, and we actually went and visited the World War I Museum, which was phenomenal.
Yes.
I had never been to it before. It is so well put together. I highly recommend that museum for anybody who's a history buff. And I mean, I'm a history buff. I'm not necessarily a military history buff, but it's fascinating. It's sad, but it's a fascinating museum. So highly recommend that. But then we were out in Colorado Springs.
How's the skiing?
We stayed at, there was no skiing this time, Chris.
Okay.
As I mentioned,
Sorry.
it was summer. It was actually quite hot most of the days that we were out there. Did some hiking and stayed in a castle.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was fantastic. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed the trip, and it was a good break. It was nice to kind of unplug and dial out for a bit.
Oh, you can't leave it there. Whose castle was it? Don't leave us hanging.
I didn't know that it was a mystery, but no, Glen Eyrie Castle. It's in Colorado Springs. It was built by a Civil War general and businessman, entrepreneur, engineer, visionary man, last name Palmer, General Palmer.
Mm-hmm.
And he essentially founded Colorado Springs. In the shadow of Pikes Peak. He built this beautiful, beautiful estate. It was privately held and owned for the longest time. It's still, I guess, privately owned, but now they've opened it up to the public for like hotel purposes. You can go there and have a family reunion or conferences, and it's really, really, really neat. If you're ever out in Colorado Springs, definitely recommend checking it out.
Didn't know there were castles out there. Thank you, Susie.
Fantastic indeed. Yeah, beautiful part of the country, Susie, indeed. Smoozy Q on Twitter X, and she's back in the saddle now, and she'll be writing away at redstate.com. Susie, thanks as always for all the great news and analysis, and we'll look forward to speaking with you again soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Have a great evening.
You too.
You as well. And Chris, just like that, in the blink of an eye, it's 5:44 in the PM.
Amazing. Show goes by so quickly when you're having so much fun and you have great guests and great content, as Jeff would say.
This was a jam-packed show. Folks, if you missed it, you need to catch the podcast, which Joey V will have up right after the program, newstalkstl.com or wherever you get podcasts. We had Senator Talon on talking about all the huge news coming out of D.C. today with the South Korean president in town, Russia, Ukraine, Gaza, and more. Catherine Hanaway, Missouri's next attorney general at 5:07, and then Susie Moore. When we come back, Larry Connors, USA. And Joey, we hardly took a breath to say hello to you today. How you been, my friend?
Doing wonderful. Back from the Festival of Nations. I saw our friends Tango Argentina out there just throwing empanadas to people left and right. They were so busy. I'm so proud of them.
Fantastic.
Tim, Becky, and I went to go see Weapons over the weekend.
You did?
We
Are you did. going to give us a Arps review? When
I
we come
may.
back?
I don't know.
Okay.
Joey's not happy with my
You don't want to
review.
rain on his parade?
Joey's not happy with my review, I think.
That bone of contention and more when we return on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Nice, cool night again tonight. We'll actually see clearing skies and then more sunshine for Tuesday. A low of 54 degrees. a high of 78, about 10 degrees below the normal high. Northeast winds about 5 to 10 miles an hour and plenty of sunshine. Wednesday, partly cloudy skies, and it clouds up a little bit more later in the day and the evening. High of 79, though. Another day with a high in the 70s. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
The Vic Porcelli Show. David Jaworski is going to talk to us about the Francis Howell School District and maybe some stuff about this guy, Mike Dominguez. That is all happening on Tuesday at 10:05.
Weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
If you're looking for a bank that truly knows and serves the St. Louis community, let me tell you about my bank, Royal Banks of Missouri. They're a full-service, independent community bank founded right here in St. Louis by local businessmen. They've been around since 1964. I trust them with both my personal and business accounts. Their service is outstanding. Their team is committed to helping people and businesses succeed. 60 years later, they're still locally owned and headquartered in University City, where I live proudly, with 16 convenient locations across St. Louis, St. Charles, Illinois, even up in Northeast Missouri. And they're doubling down on their roots. Royal Banks is moving its corporate headquarters to Olive and McKnight in September 2025. That's just a few days away. And they're renewing their commitment to their original home of University City. Whether you're looking for everyday banking, commercial financial solutions, you'll find their personalized service is second to none. Visit today, royalbanksofmo.com, royalbanksofmo.com to learn more. Royal Banks of Missouri, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Hey, Mike Ferguson here. And for nearly 40 years, Nutrition Stop has been St. Peter's trusted source for natural living. They've got a great, knowledgeable staff offering more than just products. They provide guidance on your wellness journey with exceptional service, from 100% grass-fed meats like elk and bison and local produce to quality supplements and clean household products. 4101 Mexico Road in St. Peter's, just off the interstate at Cave Springs and Highway 70.
This is Mark Harder with RE/MAX Results, the #1 RE/MAX franchise in the region. As a licensed real estate broker with RE/MAX Results for over 20 years, I've seen the ups and downs of many real estate markets, including the one we're in right now. With the spring market in full swing, now is the time to leap into the buying or selling of your home. Someday is not a day. Today is the day to make your move. Call me at 314-852-8933 or email me at markhardersells@gmail.com.
Hey, Jamie Allman here for Patriot Heating and Cooling. When your home's comfort is on the line, you need a team you can trust. That's why I recommend Patriot Heating and Cooling, St. Louis's trusted team of HVAC experts. These pros make customer service their #1 priority, whether it's a summer breakdown or a winter emergency. Booking your service couldn't be easier. Just visit callpatriothvacstl.com or call 314-527-2722. Patriot Heating and Cooling. Comfort every day, the Patriot way.
You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
When I first met you, didn't realize I can't forget you for your surprise.
Firefighters are on the scene of a house explosion near Florissant. Multiple homes are damaged in the area and people have been injured. Right now, it's still unclear how many or how severe those injuries are.
So right behind me here is Candlewick Club Drive, which is where that home exploded. I can't even count the amount of fire trucks that have been here. We know that Blackjack Fire Department is leading this investigation. Spire crews out here as well. We've even seen an ATF official as well out here, and they've been out here working this scene.
5:50 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. And Joey and I are both North County boys, so we know that area well. Tim, this is hard to believe. I know the audience is going to find this hard to believe, but I live in University City. This happened in North County. My wife and I heard the explosion this morning while I was washing dishes, doing my domestic duties. Becky was working in her office, and we just heard this loud noise. It wasn't necessarily an explosion. It was just a loud bang. And my wife was like, boy, I wonder what that is. And we live right across from a middle school. So I thought maybe they were out with the band or they were doing something out on the field. Learned a few minutes later when my phone was blowing up with the neighborhood app, because I still connected the neighborhood app because my mom lived in Florissant
Sure.
area, so I still get that stuff. And that's when the news started coming out that this was a house explosion.
Wow. Did you feel it at all?
Didn't feel
Okay,
anything,
but you
just heard it.
No problem.
And the power of citizen journalism. I saw the scene actually way before the local news was on there. There was a local citizen journalist that was on the scene, and he was kind of streaming it and showing us what was going on. You could see that this was a bad scene. That's where I learned 4 people had been injured.
Ooh.
4 or 5 houses around were destroyed. Joy said he looked it up, and like 20 houses around the explosion, they can't go back in their houses. They've cut off the gas. Joy, do you mind doing something for me? Can you find out what the distance is between where the explosion was and U City? Because I'd like to that's amazing that you could hear that far away.
No one died? Was no one
They
in
haven't
the house?
They've said 4 people.
15 miles. 15 miles.
15 miles heard the explosion.
Woo.
Yeah, they said that 4 people were injured.
Huh.
1, I think, was not as bad, but 3 people were hospitalized. And then I just heard 5 houses around there were destroyed.
Shocking that no one perished in
Yeah.
this.
Well, we don't know. Well,
not yet.
Yeah, we don't know. Hopefully not. But yeah, and as we were talking during the break, this is like the second home explosion in Blackjack in that area. About 5-6 years ago, a gentleman was making illegal fireworks, had hired a couple of teenagers to help him put this together, and blew the freaking house up. Both the teenagers died. So
you'll find this hilarious. So this happened a long time ago.
Yeah.
I don't know, 10, 15 years ago. There was a miniature explosion in the Legends of all places,
Wow.
right? Fancy neighborhood,
Yeah.
right? And all that. And you know what it was?
What?
Meth. Somebody's nephew or some ne'er-do-well relative of the whoever. There's this. So in the Legends where I live, around the corner on this other street, there's these bigger homes, and there's this beautiful home, but it's a weird. They say it's a weird design inside. It's all chopped up and weird. It's big.
Right.
It was always a mysterious home.
Yeah.
And this guy had a lot of people coming and going.
Yeah,
and the neighbors noticed that.
that's
you
a
know?
giveaway.
And one night there was a boom. And it was meth. Well,
Yeah.
you know, we are the north side of northern Jefferson County.
That's true.
There in Eureka. We're in St. Louis County, but just barely. And so everyone for a long time teased me about the Legends being the meth capital of St. Louis County.
Looks like Wesley Bell was on site checking out the damage. And then also there's a shelter that's been set up in that neighborhood. There's a church, St. Angela Church.
St. Angela Marisi.
So all those people are going to go hang out in that church and play basketball, I guess. And
My mom lived in the subdivision right across from there, Park Argonne. So I know Candlewick. I've seen that street, know that area very, very well. Hope that no one was injured seriously in this. And I hope you would think if it was a gas explosion that Spire would have said
They
it was
should.
or it wasn't, would have ruled it out by now.
With modern technology and their systems, they should know immediately when there's a gas explosion, like what that was. So sounds like maybe somebody may have been up to no good, and we'll find out more. As we find out more, we'll let you know.
Yeah.
Maybe David Stokes, our resident local municipal expert, will be able to weigh in on explosions of houses tomorrow when we talk to him.
Coldwater Creek runs right next to it. So maybe there's some nuclear stuff, some fission.
Maybe some fission happened and blew it up. Who knows?
We get Josh Hawley all over that. Yeah.
All right, Joey did a movie review last Friday
did.
of a new horror flick called Weapons, and I was so excited about it because Joey gave it a 4.5 out of 5. That's the highest rating he has ever given.
Historical rating.
Historical rating. My wife and saw it. We enjoyed it. I was probably about a 1 point lower. I put it at about a 3.5.
Okay.
I would put it at what brought it up to 3.5 to me was the unique way they told the story from 5 of the characters' point of view. So it was interesting. You know, it was go back in time, then you'd see how they reacted to this person. That was very interesting. Joey, let me get your opinion on this, because I thought that the children missing, I thought that they waited way too long into the movie before you finally kind of figured out what the hell was going on. Because it was getting to the point where I was like, wait a minute, you're not talking about the children. You're on all this other stuff. I'm losing attention.
Well, I definitely enjoyed the detective work of Josh Brolin trying to figure out where the kids were. And then the accidental crackhead kind of blowing open the case was very funny to me. But yeah, it depends on your preference if you like the pacing of that, because it is going back and forth in time. You are seeing the same story over and over. That could drive some people a little crazy.
Does it mean I'm pretty stupid when I didn't get it
Yep.
To like the second or third character, and I was like, oh, they put their names up, James, and then it gives a flashback. It took about 3 people before I got what they were doing.
I haven't seen the movie yet, but you know what that reminds me of? That reminds me of the technique they used in Pulp Fiction.
Exactly what I was going to say. Yep.
And Speed what's the movie where they kind of did it from everybody's point of view? What's the movie that won Best Picture, and they did it from people's different points of view?
Crash. Maybe
Crash.
is what you were
that
thinking of.
Crash. Yes.
I couldn't believe that won Best Picture. Me and Becky rented that.
Was that the drug story?
I don't even remember, but it was just like this won Best Picture. Were they desperate this year or
Maybe.
what?
It was Slim Pickens.
I think this is how old that movie was. We watched it on Netflix when you had to do the CDs when they mailed you the things.
That was a long time
yeah,
ago.
that's how long we watched it. I was shocked that it won Best Picture. So I give it a 3, Joey.
Oh, wonderful.
Joey's like, I don't care.
Chris sees 3 movies a year, and eventually he's going to get to a 5. He's going to give a 5 cumulative score for all the movies he's seen. That I recommend.
Weapons, pretty good movie. I won't say don't go see it, but that's pretty good. All right, Larry Connors, USA is up next. Larry's going to talk about how President Trump is putting more National Guard troops on duty in U.S. cities, and Bolton was warned not to publish that book. Larry Connors, USA. Coming up next, you've been listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL. Drive safe and have a great evening.
Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros, your all-in-one gutter service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. We discovered Gutter Pros a few years ago when we bought our home and inherited a gutter issue that was on the road to becoming a potentially big problem, but thanks to Gutter Pros was stopped before causing any major damage. They've also repaired the siding on our home because along with gutter repair, gutter installation, and leaf protection, the Gutter Pros are also the best for siding repair and installation. Learn about all the ways Gutter Pros can help your home at gutterpros.com.
Hey, folks, it's Jamie Allman here for the Walner home selling team of Berkshire Hathaway. I love this team so much, and Rodney and Jen love the team so much, I became a member. So now I'm an agent with the Walner home selling team of Berkshire Hathaway, and I can tell you, as a matter of fact, that we're going to get you into a home really super easily.